Look at this footage right here. It's July 15th, 2026. Welcome to the video, everybody. Ryan here. I hope you're doing great wherever you're at in the world today, because this footage is something else. It released this morning by CENTCOM. This right here is basically what accountability looks like at this point. This is what happens when you push too far. Precision munitions going straight into cruise missile storage, straight into launch sites, all of it on Greater Tunb Island. That island sits right near the Strait of Hormuz, one of the tightest, deadliest choke points on the entire planet. 90 minutes in and out, that was the window. Door kickers rolling in, boom, straight through the door. And then the strikes came in right on top of the targets. No hesitation, no second guessing, just precision and pressure. The IRGC, they didn't even know about these explosions. They had no idea what hit them. Probably didn't find out until they scrolled their Telegram feed. No warning at all coming their way. But let's rewind for a second, because the sequencing here tells you everything you need to know. It tells you exactly where this war is going next. And it tells you why the power plants and bridges are targets. So what you're looking at right now is the result of 5 straight nights of US strikes on Iran. 5 consecutive nights. Not 1, not 2. 5 nights of hammering Iranian military positions across the region. On top of that, a reimposed naval blockade. The US locked down the shipping lanes and squeezed Iran hard. And then there was a public statement from the commander of CENTCOM himself. He named exactly what Iran did. He named exactly what they did to earn every single bit of this. And the numbers are brutal. Listen closely. 7 commercial ships attacked in just 7 days. 1 ship for every single day of the week. Nearly a dozen civilian mariners killed, wounded, or missing at sea. These weren't soldiers. These weren't combatants. These were regular people carrying cargo and oil across the water, just trying to make an honest living out there. And the IRGC decided to target them anyway, deliberately, on purpose. That is an absolute scum move, plain and simple. And now, for the first time in this whole conflict, we're seeing serious combat assets deployed all at once. Fighter jets, naval assets, one-way attack drones, all of it thrown into the fight simultaneously, nothing held back. F-15S, F-16 Wild Weasels, Lucas drones, everything unleashed on the IRGC across those islands and coastal positions. And then, last night, President Trump goes on Fox News and just says it out loud on live TV. He said, next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. He didn't sugarcoat a single word of it. He said, we're going to knock out all their power plants. And then we're going to knock out all their bridges. But he added one condition to it, unless they get to the table and negotiate, unless Iran actually sits down. Now think about that for a second. Do you honestly think Iran is going to negotiate at this point? Really? Probably a snowball's chance in hell. That's about the odds of Iran sitting down and talking peace right now. And honestly, at this point, it's pretty clear who's actually running the leadership inside Iran. Let's be real here. It's the generals in the south. Whoever controls the Strait of Hormuz basically controls the entire country right now. But wait, there is a wild twist coming up that you are absolutely not going to see coming. Check this out. There's a ship reportedly sunk off Bandar Abbas. It was just sitting there, anchored right off the coast. But we don't know how it went down. We don't know who did it. We just know it went straight to the bottom. One of these massive commercial vessels just going down into the water, gone, vanished, and nobody's claiming it yet. And then even more reports start coming in. Trump confirms the US is watching activity at Pickaxe Mountain closely. That's an underground site suspected of supporting Iran's nuclear program, buried deep, hidden away from the eyes above, and he warned it flat out. If Iran doesn't play ball, that site gets targeted next. No hesitation about it. So let me get this straight for a moment. Iran fired on civilian crews and then called it maritime law. Basically, we're just helping you through the strait by firing on you, by maiming your crews. Sure, makes total sense. Yeah, CENTCOM filed a response to all of that, a very loud, very clear, very explosive kind of response. And it turns out next-generation penetrator bombs don't exactly leave a forwarding address behind. They just leave craters. So let's really get into it now, because this timeline, this whole sequence of events, is genuinely wild to follow. July 7th, the IRGC opens fire on those commercial vessels. Day after day after day, the attacks keep coming. Then the retaliatory strikes roll in, and they roll in hard, crushing Iran across every one of those coastal positions. F-15E Strike Eagles are likely leading the way here. These are the heavy hitters of the entire strike package. They're teamed up with the F-16CJ, and that F-16CJ is the harm shooter of the whole operation. This aircraft can basically beam right through the enemy radar. It rides the beam that's trying to target it. The radar tries to lock onto it, and the jet sends a missile straight back down its own throat. Beautiful. And here's a wild one for you. All of it teamed up with one-way attack Lucas drones flying alongside. They're firing these things at different locations all around the Strait of Hormuz, spreading the chaos across every island. Now look at the targeting imagery for a second. Across all these little islands, Iran has dozens of hiding spots, drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, fast attack craft. all of it tucked away in these small, austere positions. And the thing I love about the Lucas drone is exactly this. This thing can fly into those tiny locations, dozens of them at once, each one with an AI brain, all connected, all talking to each other in real time, and absolutely taking the gloves off versus the IRGC. This is coordinated, intelligent, relentless pressure from every angle. And the targeting here is very focused on these islands specifically. And there is a very good reason for that. Iran was using the systems on these islands to harass innocent mariners, to injure them, to eliminate them at sea. These were people trying to get cargo and oil safely through the Strait, and Iran was hunting them down. So the US military stepped in, the biggest bouncer in the entire world. And it said, not on my watch, 5 nights of strikes, a reimposed blockade. And now it looks like 20+ ships from CENTCOM in the region, 2 carriers sitting out there as well. Massive firepower positioned right at the doorstep of the entire operation. The IRGC came ready to hold this strait. They genuinely thought they were going to control the whole thing, but CENTCOM controlled it instead. And then it handed the IRGC one very long, very expensive receipt for their trouble. All right, quick 30 seconds, and then we are diving right back into all the chaos. Just stick with me here. When you're flying high-performance jets, staying locked in comes down to knowing exactly what your body actually needs. And I flew the F-15 in combat and F-16s on the Thunderbirds. 3 feet away from the jet beside me, I know exactly what being locked in looks like. And I know exactly what happens when you're suddenly not locked in. Fighter jets don't have cup holders. So before combat missions, I chug an energy drink out on the flight line. The result? Heartburn and a nasty caffeine crash 30 minutes after takeoff. Not an ideal situation at max speed. So I built MaxBurnerEnergy.com to fix exactly that problem. This company is my baby, and I'm genuinely passionate about it. I personally formulated every one of these drinks to eliminate that crash sensation other energy drinks give you. Natural caffeine, nootropics, L-theanine for focus, zero crash, zero junk. Engineered to keep you locked in like a pilot. This isn't just a drink, it's a system. And we've also got some awesome merch on the way too. Check out this F-16 shirt. I oversaw every single design to tell the story of fighter jets and aviation. Head to MaxBurnerEnergy.com, join the free email list, and you'll be notified the second the drinks and merch drop. The link is right there in the description. Don't crash. Head over there right now. All right, back to the action. Greater Tunbee Island. It sits right at the western entrance of the Strait of Hormuz. Prime strategic real estate. It's one of the most heavily defended choke points on the entire planet. And the IRGC knew that very well. They were using it as exactly what it looks like on the map. A forward operating position, plain and simple, cruise missile storage, launch sites, systems that can reach any vessel foolish enough to try transiting that strait. And hitting a target like this isn't just hard because of the defenses stacked all around it. It's harder than that. It's hard because the window is tiny. The gap between when you launch and when the IRGC can reposition. That gap is measured in minutes, just minutes. You blink and the target has already moved or fired back. This isn't a target you can prosecute slowly and carefully. You've got to go in fast, and you've got to go in hard. And CENTCOM's answer to that exact problem was a package. A massive package running basically every single night this week. And it's genuinely worth talking through because it's a total masterclass in what layered air power actually looks like. Before anything hits a target, the suppression of enemy air defense mission always goes in first. Always. No exceptions. That's the F-16 Wild Weasels. These aircraft are purpose-built for this exact job. Nothing else, just this dangerous mission. They roll in ahead of the strike package. First one's into the threat, first one's exposed to the fire. Their job is to find every Iranian radar and SAM that lights up and make it regret ever lighting up. Basically, they're the bait. They dangle themselves out there so the enemy reveals its position. That's the whole play. That is how big the cojones are on these men and women fighter pilots. It takes a special kind of person. Going into a threat ring, knowing you'll be the very first one targeted, that takes real nerve. Hats off to them. Now think about the AGM-88 HARM missiles they carry. These are fire-and-forget anti-radiation weapons. They home in on radar. The moment an Iranian radar turns on, it has voluntarily donated its coordinates to the entire elimination chain. Instantly. It's like a little text message comes in. The radar operator goes, "Hey, Wild Weasel, you up right now?" And the Wild Weasel goes, "Yeah, you know I'm up." And then the radar, boom, goes completely dark, one way or another. Then comes the strike package. This is the big one. This is the real payload behind the entire operation. I'm talking about the F-15E Strike Eagle, a 2-seat monster, one of the most capable strike aircraft ever built. It carries precision-guided munitions against the hardened facilities all over Greater Tunbee Island. It goes after the tough stuff, the cruise missile storage bunkers, the launch sites, the coastal defense systems, all the things Iran thought were safe. And you can see all these secondary explosions happening right now. Weapons depots cooking off in massive fireballs, 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs going straight in. These bombs don't knock, they just arrive and rearrange everything. And these will likely be the same aircraft that go after the power plants, the energy grid, and the bridges. But none of this happens without persistent ISR. That's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance for you acronym addicts out there. I just needed to say that. You're welcome. That's the E-2 Hawkeyes running off the carriers, painting the picture. They blast off with that big radar dish spinning on top. They see everything. They paint the whole battlefield picture. And EA-18G Growlers are up there too, jamming Iranian communications and radar, turning their whole network into useless static. So inside an IRGC command center, the picture is nothing but static and confusion while the package executes flawlessly. On our side, ISR looks like a crystal clear picture. We watch whatever we want, whenever we want to watch it. On the IRGC side, it basically looks like static crawling across a dead screen. That's how powerful these Growlers are. And I flew the F-15 Strike Eagle myself. Let me tell you, it is not a subtle aircraft in any way. It's a truck that happens to go Mach 2 with 8,000 pounds of ordnance on board, or even more. When you put it up against a fixed facility like a cruise missile site, the math becomes very straightforward. The target is there. The guidance is precise, and the result is simply not in question. It ends one way. So what the IRGC had on Greater Tumby Island this morning is not what they'll have there tomorrow morning. That's the campaign working exactly as it was designed to work. Methodical, relentless, and impossible for Iran to keep up with. But wait, here's something that nobody's talking about yet, and it might be the biggest signal of all. There have already been reports that small power plants around these different islands are being targeted right now, already. These aren't the mainland ones responsible for ballistic missile production or powering the big IRGC weapons programs. Not those. These are some of the smaller power plants sitting out on the islands themselves. And that's a very telling move. This could absolutely be a sign of things to come, a preview of what's about to hit the mainland next. And the F-15E Strike Eagle is absolutely the platform to make every bit of this happen. It was built for this. So CENTCOM's public release confirmed precision munitions against coastal defense systems, cruise missile storage, and launch sites. And it identified that 90-minute window specifically, 90 minutes to get in, hit everything, and get back out safely. So the F-15E and the Wild Weasel, they did not come to negotiate. They didn't come to be strung along. I'm sure if the IRGC had a radio frequency, they'd be like, hey, F-15E, let's negotiate, right? And the F-15 would just come back with, not on my watch. And that's exactly why CENTCOM gets the last word. So let's talk a little bit about the IRGC's maritime capability, because we've seen a lot of strikes going in. We've seen strikes hitting the coastline, absolutely decimating certain entrances to the ports, wiping out defensive positions everywhere. The C-802 missiles, those are the NOR systems, and CENTCOM is striking every system that can hit surface targets. Every system that can reach out and touch targets out on the water, all of it is on the list. The IRGC has proven it can target commercial vessels, 7 ships in 7 days. That is not a coincidence. Nearly a dozen mariners maimed, eliminated, or missing at sea. This is not a rounding error. This is deliberate. This is a deliberate campaign to execute terrorism on the Strait of Hormuz, on commercial tankers, on innocent crews. So CENTCOM is absolutely eliminating anything the IRGC could ever use to target these innocent mariners again. Every single system. But the IRGC is out there claiming, you know, exactly as they always do, that they're winning the entire war. It's like sitting down to negotiate with somebody who's been watching pure propaganda all day long. It's genuinely surreal. You go, do you want to negotiate now? And they go, no, our Navy is strong, completely straight-faced. And you go, well, we've hit 160 plus of your boats. Do you still think you're strong? And they go, yes, we have at least 1 boat remaining, which means we are still absolutely in this fight. I mean, at this point, it's just wild to even think about sitting down and negotiating with these guys. But they've claimed they took out F-15S, F-16S, and F-35S at Al Azraq Air Base over in Jordan. Now, it does look like there have been some hits in and around the 5th Fleet Command Center in Bahrain, but there have been no actual verified reports of them taking out any F-16S, F-15S, or F-35S at all. And they're going to keep saying it anyway. They're going to keep the rhetoric machine running at full blast. CENTCOM, meanwhile, has confirmed 0 aircraft losses and 0 operational pauses. 0, not 1 plane down, not 1 pause. So the gap between the IRGC's press release and the observable outcome, this is not a small difference at all. This is basically like you're trying to negotiate with a stage 5 clinger. It's just not going to go well. But degraded doesn't mean disarmed. And that's an important distinction to make here. Iran isn't finished just yet. So obviously the IRGC is going to go down with the ship right up until the very last possible second. Their conventional military capability is absolutely degraded on a whole new level. It's been dismantled piece by piece, but now they're resorting to their proxy tactics. And that's exactly what we knew all along they would do here. They're going to focus hard on their fast attack craft. Small, fast, and hard to catch out on the water. And any of the ballistic missiles they've got hidden along the coastlines, the ones that blend right into the sand. They pop up out of nowhere, launch their payload, and then disappear back down again. That's the game they'll play. That's the kind of thing we can expect a lot more of from Iran in the coming days and nights. So I would fully expect to see many more strikes along the coastline before we actually go after the bridges and before we go after the power plants. That's probably exactly what the targeting list looks like right now. And you made it to the global roundup section, my friends. So let's talk about something big going on elsewhere. We've got to talk about Ukraine, because Ukraine just quietly executed one of the most consequential maritime campaigns in modern warfare. Robert Madyar, commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, announced this morning that 20 more Russian vessels were struck overnight. That was all in the Sea of Azov. 17 oil tankers and 2 gas tankers hit in a single night. That brings the total number of Russian-linked ships hit under Operation Moloka to 136 in 10 days. Then he posted the one line that completely changes the strategic picture. Just one sentence that shifts the whole board. He said the first round of naval combat is complete. Now, the Black Sea, that's it. That's the whole message. So that means they're shifting, they're moving, and they're going to keep Russia on its toes across every single front. 2 theaters, 2 navies getting dismantled by drones and precision strikes at the exact same time. Absolute chaos on the water. And you made it to the 4D chess strategic analysis section, my friends. So let's talk about what's really happening here. Here's the move that nobody out there is actually talking about right now. And it's not the strikes themselves. It's not the blockade either. It's one single sentence that CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper put on the public record. He named with total specificity exactly what Iran actually did. He didn't dance around it. He said it plainly. He said, over the past 7 days, Iran has intentionally targeted civilians across the region by attacking 7 commercial ships. And it resulted in nearly a dozen civilian crew members killed, missing, or injured. That's the statement, word for word. Now, that statement is not military commentary, not even close. This is legal framing. This is strategic framing at work. When an American 4-star uses the word intentionally in an official statement about attacks on civilian mariners, that matters. He's building a record. He's building a case for exactly what we're doing, which happens to be the right thing. He's building the justification for the next rung of this long ladder to absolutely decimate the IRGC completely. Who knows what that could include? We don't know exactly yet, but it could stretch to the power plants and bridges. And this is language that every international law framework, every shipping nation, every Gulf partner can understand and fully support. So diplomatically, he's talking to all the different people of the world, telling them precisely why the US is acting. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point, if a country is going to maim and kill innocent mariners, if they're going to do that in a strait to people just trying to make a living, it's hard to argue. It's pretty hard to argue against taking real action against them. The moral case here basically makes itself, honestly. So here's my real question for you, and I genuinely want your honest answer down in the comments below this video. Trump said the power plants and the bridges come next week, unless Iran comes to the table and negotiates first. But if the generals controlling the Strait are the ones truly running the country, do they even have the power? Do they even have the ability to come to the table at all? Or has Iran passed the point of no return? Has it already passed the point where negotiation is even possible anymore? Mom, and this whole thing only ends one way? Do we see full-blown Armageddon happen in Iran from here? Or does something crack behind the scenes that nobody predicted? Let me know down in the comments below. I read them. I would genuinely love to hear all of your thoughts. Go ahead and follow me on X. Follow me on Instagram too. I'm posting there pretty much every single day. And then head over to maxburnerenergy.com and join my free email list. You'll get all the updates on the drinks. You'll get updates on the merch too. And you'll get a weekly roundup email with the latest breaking global news. So you don't miss a single thing happening around the world. That's maxburnerenergy.com. Go join it right now, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate all of your support. I hope you have a great day. So Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off. See you all in the very next one. Take care out there.